On the northern slopes of Mount Fuji, the volcanic soil is covered in a vast, dark forest. It's said the trees grow so thick with their canopies interwoven into a lush green blanket that even in a downpour, a hiker might not need an umbrella. In some areas, it's said the roots of the trees grow in such a way that they look like they are reaching out and almost seem to writhe with dark intent. The forest is known for its almost complete lack of sound. No birds, no insects, no animals making forest calls. When some people walk into the primeval undergrowth, they immediately report feeling isolated and anxious, enveloped by the strangeness of the oppressive atmosphere. For years, Japanese authorities have posted signs on the forest edges, warning of the dangers of becoming lost within the shadow-filled woods, and urging those who are contemplating entering while under the dark influence of thoughts of self-harm should turn back. This case file joined the theorists as they follow the breadcrumb trail into the phantasmal forest in the foothills of Mount Fuji in Aokigahara Forest.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing, Case File 241, Aokigahara Forest.
Nailed it.
I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew.
I was just sweating all day.
Thinking about having to get the number right.
I was putting side bets on the over-under if you're going to fuck that name up or not. And I think I lost some money.
Yeah, it's, those following along, I'm now 2 for 2. The last 2 words, hard words I had to pronounce.
Has he turned a corner
You did really good.
and is hooked on phonics degree?
I'm impressed.
Aokigahara and Forest? Those are the two words?
Yeah. 2 for 2. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So before we get into this one, we just want to do a little disclaimer at the beginning. Tonight, we're going to touch on some pretty heavy subject matter. We're not going to give it a lot of time, but we're going to definitely touch on it. And before we get into it, just wanted to reach out to anybody that's listening that might be struggling with any thoughts of self-harm or, just maybe struggling and need somebody to talk to. And just let you know that there's absolutely zero reason to suffer in silence and to be alone because there are resources for you and there's help. Mm-hmm. And if you are having those struggles, please don't stay silent. We could give you a few numbers for the Canada Suicide Prevention number, 833-456-4566. And then there's the international number, 1-800-273-TALK. And you can also text 45645 and go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Those are all resources. So, absolutely utilize them. They're there for a reason.
100%. Yeah.
All in agreement.
Unfortunately, everyone knows someone who either has or knew someone who has taken a life. And it's never something.
Taking a life? I think it's
taking their life.
Taking their own.
Yeah,
well, in his vampire circles. In his vampire circles.
You just let it slip there, Zell.
Yeah. Did that slip?
Yeah.
Well, look at this guy.
We all know someone who's taken a life. I'm like, wait, it's not me.
Hey, look, the guy's practically glowing. He had a fresh pint of blood in him. He's probably fresh off the kill. Let's be honest.
Look at that smooth skin.
Yeah.
Right? The wrinkles are gone.
That's Forever 29 right there.
Yeah. Wow. Forever 1829.
We're talking about Aokigahara Forest today, and I think most people have probably either heard of this. This is also the Ron Pond fan pick for this month. Every month on our Patreon, we throw out a poll at the beginning of the month, and you get 3 topics to vote on and what we're going to talk about. And this is the one that everyone chose. It was pitted against 2 other topics, and it squeaked out. It was like by 2 votes, I think. Like there's 2 votes that beat another case file.
Because the bastards probably voted for this one because they know we're going to say something to get us canceled. Just no. Just fucking
Want us
no.
off the air.
Fuckers.
We're always one step from the edge.
It is probably one of the most infamous forests in Japan. It sits at the foot of holy Mount Fuji and is also known as Jukai or Aokigahara Jukai, also the Sea of Trees. The forest actually sits on a plateau of a lava flow at an altitude about 900 to 1,200 meters on the northwestern slope of Mount Fuji, and it's in the southern part of the Yamanashi prefecture in Japan. Now, some parts of Aokigahara are actually a nationally designated national treasure and also in special protection zones of Fuji Hakone Izu National Park.
Now, and if you're wondering if you've heard of this forest before, you probably have. I would say, like, famously, it's called the Suicide Forest, and one of the more famous incidences in pop culture in recent memory is
You're
when
gonna bring this putz up.
Yeah, is when that YouTube putz filmed a body in this forest.
One of the Pauls, they look the same to me.
Not only did he film a body that he stumbled across, but he like proceeded to make jokes about how awkward it is and snicker and laugh, like the most off-color, tasteless fucking thing I've ever seen.
Well, listen, you know what? Like, I'm not defending that, but I was like, it was a weird thing to post.
Absolutely.
I was like, yeah, you know.
Dude, those they do anything for clicks, man.
Listen, the only thing less entertaining than that video was his fight with fucking Mayweather.
I didn't watch it. Was it not a good fight?
Yes.
Oh God, no.
Wasn't it like the greatest?
I thought it was the
greatest fight of all time.
Absolutely not. It was a fucking sideshow.
Besides, yes, it is it's probably most well-known factoid about this forest is also known as the Suicide Forest. And a relatively large number of suicides have occurred within the boundaries of Aokigahara. That can probably be attributed to, at least they say that there is a popular book that was written in the 1960s. It featured two teenage lovers, pretty much Romeo and Juliet style, snuffing each other in the forest, along with another book. Romantically, if you can call it romantic. Romeo and Juliet is still fucked up. Like, absolutely, I will die on that rock. The more you think about it, you're like, this is dumb as fuck. I hate this thing.
A couple of 14-year-olds killing themselves. Like, not good.
The Leo DiCaprio movie is pretty good though.
Great.
Is that the one where they got guns?
Yeah.
Yes. And John
Leguizamo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's still, that holds up. I think it's still pretty good. And so you have this as well as another book that was published after that one.
In case the subtle references in that other book about suicide weren't enough, maybe this one a little bit more clear, I guess.
More straightforward.
Yeah.
Does it say go to the forest and kill yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a chapter on that.
The full title is like the handbook.
The complete suicide manual.
Yeah, the complete suicide manual written by a Japanese author.
Wataru Tsutsuri.
Lists out a number of places that would be the best for suicide.
Okay, not only does it list places, it gives you, I think, up to 11 methods, up to most effective to least effective. It ranks them as far as cost, emotional toll on your family members. And this is a real book.
Big Theory Productions Incorporated does not endorse or promote the purchase or reading of this book.
No.
God, no.
I think stay as far away from it as possible. Now, besides that, Aokigahara Forest is actually a pretty interesting place aside from those things. Like, even though it's most popularized for the dark deeds that are done there and have been are now inextricably linked there, it has become sadly a part of the forest that you actually have to have authorities sweep it out, have an annual sweep every year to go in and look for people who have taken their own lives.
And they've actually, as of 2011, they've stopped counting the number of bodies that they found because they didn't want to popularize it, make it more of a polarizing thing that it already is. But the last year, 2010, they tallied 200 suicide attempts with 54 casualties.
It's so crazy, man.
Right? And that's within the last year. But I think something that we really need to make clear too, right? Because this is especially the subject matter, this was very shocking reading it, right? It was hard to digest, but you kind of need to understand that Japan has a little bit like historically has a little bit of a different attitude towards suicide that really stands in like a stark contrast to what, those like, especially like the Judeo-Christian societies and stuff like that. I think that's important to
They view like more honorably sometimes.
Well, in some circumstances, like I would say
the idea of what is it,
seppuku,
the ritual suicide of like samurai days, where it's kind of glorified. It has been glorified in some aspects of Japanese culture, and it's kind of hung on to that. Like, yeah.
Well, it was seen as a way of atonement.
Yeah,
right. So it was more of an honorable way of going out, especially like within the military ranks. Oddly enough, like the special way of like seppuku, the harikari method of committing suicide was only reserved for samurai and noble people. If you were not, you had to do it in less honorable ways. But that kind of just shows you how honorably they considered it. Like you have to be this honorable to kill yourself in this fashion. And then you go back to even with World War II with the kamikaze pilots, right? Like that was honorable. Right?
Going out, dying in battle was always seen as a preferable way to go out.
Well, I mean, Independence Day glorified that too.
Death before dishonor. But like, and you think this is like potentially like pretty archaic, ideas. But you look back at it, there is this expense scandal with a cabinet minister, Toshikatsu Matsuoka, who took his life in 2007, and the former governor of Tokyo described him as a true samurai for preserving his honor.
Yeah.
Like that was in 2007.
Yeah. So it's still, the vestiges the vestiges of samurai culture still, all those veins run deep,
trickle
throughout
through
Japanese culture. But aside from that, you do have a lot of cool features about Aokigahara as a place just that is unique for its just natural, the way that it is actually grown, like its natural environment. So the forest floor is actually made of volcanic rock, which is just cooled lava from, apparently there was a massive eruption in 864 AD. And the stone there is hard and porous and full of tiny little holes, which give the forest this one of its kind of notable characteristics.
The spookiest characteristic
of being able to absorb sound. A lot of people who go into this, almost every single person that walks into this forest, the first thing that they say that you notice is the lack of sound.
Like no birds chirping, nothing.
Yeah, eerily quiet. And some people say like if you got lost and you were, a couple hundred yards from like other people, they might not hear you yelling. Like the dense forest and the makeup of this just absorb that. If we recorded there, it'd sound way better than we're
Yeah, they say it's because the makeup of the foliage, like the moss on the forest floor is so thick and like porous that it acts as like an ultimate sound absorber.
Yeah, and that on the ground, like this, another unusual characteristic of Aokigahara is that the soil is only about 10 centimeters thick, and so what happens is that you have, even though it is very fertile and it's very good for trees, like that volcanic soil. Because it's so thin, the roots of the trees, the way that they grow is that they grow out sideways almost.
Oh, so they burrow down till they hit the rock and then jet out.
Right. And so you get this, if you see a lot of pictures, pull up pictures of Aokigahara, it gives it this very primeval, spooky appearance with all of these, you have all of these roots like climbing over each other, forming little bumps and hills.
I was going to say the same thing. When I looked at pictures, it's beautiful, but I was like, man, this looks like Mirkwood.
Did Tolkien visit Japan before he wrote those?
Yeah, because that's what it looks like.
It could be the inspiration. It looks that, like it could have just fit right into that movie, no problem.
Another really cool part.
They literally tell you, they're like, do not, like even like advanced hikers and outdoors people, they say, do not wander off the trail. Or you will get lost.
Or if you do, you have to leave ribbons or some type of markers as you go.
You got to Hansel and Gretel it.
Yeah.
Yep. The Aokigahara Forest is like, even though it is spooky and it is a place that has been known to be the site of a lot of suicides and these things, there are sites within Aokigahara Park, like that area, that are hot tourist destinations. There are places that there are places for school trips, field trips, and things like that.
Just go water skiing and zip lining.
Well, I mean, no, it's popular for fucking like anatomy and biology fucking classes.
Okay, well, fucking not those
decomposition stages, right?
Well, aside from that, you also have these pretty neat set of caves. There's one there, and there's one called Narusawa Hyoketsu, which is called the Ice Cave. Now, the Ice Cave is located on the east entrance of Aokigahara. And so about 1150 years ago, during year 6 of the Jogan era, 864 AD, you had this giant eruption occur. And with the it was like it exploded out the flank of Mount Fuji, and then all of this lava descended down into between all of these other tiny little volcanoes, and then created this 2-tunnel cave system. Now, it's about 156 meters long, and with like these two, it's almost like a figure 8 when you look at the formation of the caves. And what's pretty neat about it is that the average temperature inside these caves is usually between 0 and 3 degrees Celsius. And
nice
ice formation takes place within the cave year round.
Oh, so it's
constant. Those stalactite fucking icicles hanging down everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like the groundwater like seeps through and actually freezes. And so they said that ice, like since that time, like when the cave was discovered and they had these ice and stuff like that, they would actually use it as a natural refrigerator from the Edo period, and ice would be cut from inside the cave and taken to the shogun.
This culture,
of the area.
Fun fact, actually, this culture is the first one to refrigerate beer.
Oh, there we go.
I mean,
I think.
Pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure.
I'll be honest with you. I feel like that would end up like decreasing the fucking suicide numbers, though. They'd be happier.
You spit that fact out so believably. I was like, interesting.
Well, and of all people, Zell would know.
Yeah, that's
right?
Yeah.
And
also, probably had a couple pints there.
Also, according to Toho Films, within this cave is the frozen body of King Ghidorah from the Godzilla films.
Oh, which one's that? Which monster is that?
Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, giant monsters all out attack. That's the entire.
But which one's King Ghidorah?
He's the three-headed golden dragon.
The three-headed golden
dragon. Okay.
Yeah, that one.
And he's frozen down there as well.
So
according,
you have this like super spooky forest, eerily creepy, silent. You have some sort of naturally forming ice cave that's frozen all year round. Naturally, with something like this, in such a story-rich culture, there's bound to be some folklore and stuff that goes along with this forest.
Well, not only that, like Japan and Japanese people are like very dialed in when it comes to fucking like supernatural. Right? Like I remember reading not too long ago, I'd have to look it up, but there was an elected official that they were offering him the prime minister gets a free place to live, the president gets his White House, like he was given a place to live, and he went in there and was like, can't do it, boys, like this place is fucking paranormally activated, I'm gonna need somewhere else to live. And like he wasn't scoffed at or anything. Everybody, all the Japanese people were like, I think
it was the former prime minister.
And that's real. He's like, you know what, we should probably condemn that fucking place.
They didn't even think it. They don't think twice. They're like, this place is haunted, I'm out, I'm gonna move.
You can't rearrange that furniture enough to make that place positive. Like,
what happened?
Out of there, man.
Ghosts.
Okay. Yeah, actually, you know what? There's ghosts in that one, so I'm going to need a bigger one with a pool, maybe.
Less ghosts. I'm okay with 1 or 2 ghosts.
Yeah.
After that, I'm out.
One of the facets of folklore that actually deals directly with Aokigahara is there's local legend from Buddhist folklore that has that Aokigahara was the place where people once practiced what is known as obatsute, which is the act of
granny tossing.
Yeah, essentially.
AKA.
Granny tossing, granny dumping.
Well, isn't it like, I know Okasan is mom and Obasan, I think
Obasan's like old lady.
Grandma, Obasan is grandma. So it's like Ubatsu is
Oba, Oba is
it's grandma. It's grandma dumping. Like that's basically comes from the fucking name.
Yes, and it was the practice of taking a elderly or sick family member into a remote area and leaving them to die, which is like that's not like isolated to Japanese culture. I'm pretty sure other cultures have had that as well.
Well, here in Canada we call it pillow therapy, but.
Yeah, I find
cheaper.
it absolutely disgusting and despicable that, a culture would do this. You need to abandon your grandparents in homes so they can be abused by strangers until they die. That's the right way to do it.
How about a warm glass of shut the hell up?
That's the Canadian way.
You get back to sewing those wallets.
Your fingers are sore?
My fingers hurt.
Well, now your back's sore because you just got landscaping duty. I mean, I read that and I was like, oh, that's bad. And then I was like, well, I'm pretty sure like all of our senior homes
are
just
awful.
got wiped out in Canada. It was terrible.
They literally had to bring in the military to help during COVID because when they saw the conditions of these places, like as someone who unfortunately frequents these places, it's fucking horrible.
Like let me tell you something. Del Boca Vista isn't all what it's cracked up to be.
No. Anyway, but this practice from what I read was usually the grandparents were like, I'm old and weak, especially in times of like famine. Mm-hmm. They'd be like, let me pass on so like my family can live. And then it was like an agreement that I don't think they weren't just riding up a horse and kicking grandma off. And
but listen, we got a book for you. We got a book here for you with 11 different methods that don't include starving to death. There's way better ways of fucking taking care of this. Like, why would you let them go and slowly die a painful death?
It was from the folklore. It is reported it says that this practice was meant for like times of extreme shortages, so famine, disease, these kinds of things where families were struggling to support even their healthy members. So resources wise, you just had to let them go. There is kind of, I would say, there is a poem from Buddhist folklore that commemorates the story of this practice.
Is it a haiku?
I don't know. Nice. It's not a haiku. But I actually thought it was.
I remember always choosing those when we had to write poems in school. I was always choose. You had to choose a haiku. What is it, like 3, 2, 3?
5, 7, 5.
5, 7, 5. Yeah.
But it is. I find it kind of poignant. It is. It goes like this: in the depths of the mountains, whom was it for the aged mother snapped one twig after another, heedless of herself, she did so for the sake of her son. So. It's said that like this poem is commemorating when a son was carrying his mother up through the forest, she was snapping off twigs and leaving them behind so he could find his way.
So he could find her way out.
So he could find his way out.
Get real. Grandma was snapping those twigs, so when the sun dropped off, she's like, "Fuck this! I've got to save myself in this situation. Find my way out of this forest." Let me ask you something. Who wrote that poem? Probably the son. Right? Same.
Yeah, it could be possible. Now, so with this storied piece of folklore and the large amount of suicides, it has always been kind of, it's inevitable that Aokigahara would be long associated with ghosts, right? And one ghost in particular known as the Yurei ghost, which actually there's a lot of different types of yureis, but like yurei is like one type of a subset of ghosts, I suppose. You have yureis and yokais, which is like there's a difference, but I'm not.
Which one's the grudge one?
The yureis, it's technically that would be an onryo is what the grudge is. So
don't like that.
Right. No. So according to Shinto tradition, all of us, all people have a God within us. So technically your soul, like your spiritual being within you is encased in your fleshy prison.
And trying to beat its way out your entire life.
Pretty much. And so when you die, your God frees itself, or kami, or whatever they want to call it.
My mongoose god.
When a family member dies in Japan, living relatives usually, the living relatives have to watch over this spirit. So there's an entire religion kind of dedicated to taking care of spirits and making sure that they have a successful transition into their paradise, into the afterlife, because like once you die, you don't automatically go
Are you saying here that ghosts that are become like malevolent? Thank
Nice.
you.
Hey, he had 2 in a row. Number 3 couldn't do it.
2 for 3. They're just ghosts that weren't taken care of. They're like bad kids. So it's like it's not on the kids. It's not the ghost's fault. It's the caretakers. So it's the family. They weren't taking care for this ghost.
Well, yeah, it's just that the proper. I mean, there are very set amount of. There's a very like set in rules of rituals that need to be observed in order for a spirit to pass on to the paradise or their idea of heaven. So if that doesn't happen, your kami or the god that is within you can become malevolent or charged with negative energy and can cause harm to people or even do a lot of different things. Apparently, or a lot of abilities are attributed to different types of yurei. Now, the religion that deals with this is called Goryo Shinko, and this is when your spirit passes on to paradise, then they actually become a guardian spirit. So if you don't take care of the spirit, it becomes vengeful. If you do raise it, it's kind of like a Tamagotchi, I guess. I don't know, whatever. And it goes all the way in and it becomes like a little guardian spirit. It evolves. I don't know. Like you turn into.
So if you feed the spirit its whole life nice positive energy, it bursts forth upon death and guards you. If you do the opposite, it haunts your dreams forever.
Yes.
That's what we're saying.
So you'll see a lot of
get haunted.
Some of the traditions include things like giving a spirit a Buddhist name when you die, so that once you transition over, you cannot be inadvertently summoned back by your earthly name. So when somebody dies, they're given usually a Buddhist name. Sometimes you'll see pictures of gravestones, which I learned that actually in Japanese gravestones, that's the family gravestone. There's just one.
Yeah.
Most of the time, according to Buddhist tradition, like everybody's cremated. So they have like a family one. And then sometimes they'll put these wooden markers behind, which will have the Buddhist names of people, of those who have, of the deceased. And so these Buddhist names allow them not to be summoned back inadvertently, like pulled back from their transition or pulled away from that, allowing them to make an easier transition over into the blessed afterlife. So you can see it would. So the word yurei actually comes from the kanji yu, which means dark, and then rei, which means soul. Dark soul is pretty fucking metal. Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It does.
Now, a yurei is normally characterized by they have this long black hair and they wear a white kimono. And
because they're normally women, because women are more emotional, I think is what the...
Usually
okay.
It can be the, I think it is. I think there's a disproportionate amount of yurei who are women.
It is, and it's because they're more emotional. It literally said that.
I mean, hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. So I mean, like it kind of fits, I suppose. Another interesting little aspect of yurei ghosts is that they usually don't have any legs or hands. Like that's something that's usually remarked on, is that they don't have
those are hard to draw.
I suppose.
We talked about that before.
And so if you think of The Ring, which is a Japanese movie, The Ringu, that is pretty much like an archetypal ring. You got the girl with the long black hair hanging down, the white dress, the white flowing dress. That's very much like what you would consider a yurei. Now, a yurei is like a set of whatever, and a set of mythological paranormal being, but there are different yureis within that categorization of ghosts.
Like different levels of evil here? That's what we're talking?
Pretty much. Yeah. Each one is associated with a certain kind of subset of things that have happened to them or what causes them to become a ghost. So you have...
And they kind of exhibit different traits depending on how they die.
Yes, exactly. Right? So you have things like the first one is called the Goryo. So you have the Goryo, which is I guess literally
this guy with 6 arms. You fight him before you fight fucking Shang Tsung?
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, he has 4 arms.
4 arms.
The Goryos are literally translated means noble spirit, which are usually ghosts of the aristocratic class.
The Aristocats.
Aristocats, yeah.
It's a good show.
O'Malley. Who usually have
Fucking
suffered
hilarious.
some type
Good
of
joke.
agonizing death or been slighted at death. One popular legend of a Goryo is one Goryo called Shintokami. He's also known as Tenjin, and it's said that after the years of following what was an unfair murder, this specific Goryo caused things like thunder, heavy rains in the capital city, caused fires, floods, all kinds of natural disasters. Usually, Goryos are the most powerful of the Yurei. And so now they'll cause all kinds of havoc and wreak all of this stuff within a certain, usually a certain area. Usually
This is what you're dealing with whenever you play Sim City.
Yes. So it is a force.
What you called in a natural disaster.
Yeah. When everything starts going to shit, you got tornadoes, earthquakes, Godzilla comes up out of the water. You can thank a Goryo.
And in order to appease this ghost, to cease the torture that the city was going through, the emperor was said to have burned the official's letter of exile. I guess he had been put into exile. He actually had to burn that, and then he had to promote him post-mortem. Had to give him a promotion in the afterlife into another civil, another up, from Baron to Duke, I suppose.
Yeah,
had to give him a promotion in order to get them to.
I will now die in peace.
And they also literally made him a patron god of poetry, calligraphy, and justice.
Wow. It sounds like you just bribe them.
Yeah, if you're having problems, if you're having paranormal problems at home and you're got a ghost, hey, have you tried promoting them?
Promoting them to meaningless titles?
Yeah, have you tried giving them new titles that not necessarily, maybe it doesn't have to be a vertical promotion, just a horizontal,
Yeah, a lateral. Right? A lateral promotion.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Right? Move them into another role.
Change of title, give her a 1% raise.
Assistant park supervisor.
Well, something above inflation.
Assistant to
just at
the
least
park
something
supervisor.
that compensation above inflation, maybe.
Yeah. I'd love that you're on a Ouija board having an interview with your ghost to promote him in your house.
You're negotiating with him as you're going across. So we mentioned before.
We really like what you've done here, so we want to offer you a promotion.
He's like, what about the company car?
To the attic, right to the top floor in the attic. Ooh.
PTO.
Think about all this. Think about all the stuff you can haunt up there.
Like we mentioned before, one of the other big ones is called the Onryo, which are vengeful ghosts usually that have died having resentment towards someone or something. So these ones are the bigs that are big in J horror movies that you see in the Grudge, The Ring.
Yeah.
These are also kind of known as jibakure, which they're ghosts tied to a specific place. But these ones are also known to have a type of curse, which is called tatari, which can trap those around them within a certain area.
We just got level 20 wizards left and right. That's what these ghosts are.
Pretty spooky ghosties. Yeah. And these are kind of the ones that
These aren't just they're not just your Caspers. They're not just lurking in the closet.
No, they ain't friendly.
These guys are looking to cast fireball from the skies and blow up your whole family. That's what it sounds like.
When you start to look at the what happens in Aokigahara, it's people believe that when a person dies of a sudden or violent death, that it caused them to become a Yurei. Is that how I say it?
Yurei.
And they can, certain types, like the ones we just say, will transfer their rage and their torment onto people. And people always say, going into this forest, you get feelings of dread, anxiety, for no reason. Just being in there. It's creepy. The ambient sound, it's
apparently the trees soak in negative energy.
Yeah. So it's Mirkwood. It's one of those things where I start to think that if you have this place where, people go and they do terrible things and kill themselves and these spirits are lingering, is there a chance that these Yurei, I fuck it up every time.
Yeah.
Right? As you wander into these woods, that they're because maybe they regret a decision or something, but these ghosts would then put those feelings onto you, those negative emotions and negative feelings. Because I think we can all agree that you've been to a place where you go and you're just like, man, whatever is going on here, like some weird energies going on. I feel it weird. Like there's been a couple places I can think off the top of my head, like the Killing Fields, the weird forensic hospital in Bangkok, a couple places where you walk in, you're like, oh, something's off here. I don't know what it is.
Like there's a lingering negative energy, and you like feel it as soon as you like approach it. You're like,
Yeah, and the reason I was kind of thinking about it in this perspective is because there's a lot of bodies that never get recovered from this forest. People just go missing, and they're just presumed to have committed suicide. And one of the things that I always found interesting about this is that, we talked about, the son carrying the mother and then breaking the branches so he could find his way out. Well, hikers and stuff, when they go in, will leave ribbons, so they can find their way out. But a lot of reports say, like, don't follow those ribbons because you're likely to find a body at the end of the ribbons. And that kind of aspect of it I was like, well, I mean, I guess you never really know what's going through someone's head. But to me, it's a weird thing that you would place those ribbons to try to, you're like, oh, this is to find my way out. Or if you just want to find your body, I guess. But it was a weird thing where I'm like, and lots of times people would go and it's like they're tenting stuff and it's there. I'm like, I kind of wondered, I'm like, is this some David Politis thing where there's something, maybe these people going missing in the woods, not all of them can be chalked up for this because some go missing and are never found.
They get absorbed by the
literally
trees.
The best place for a serial killer just to hang out.
Right? Well, now, because I was even reading that, like, the locals can tell if you're a tourist or you're summoning someone there to maybe not necessarily kill yourself, but like explore the option. They can tell right away. So if you were, as you said, like someone like that, like a serial killer, that would be you could just, like, people go there as tourists. You could go walk around the forest, follow the ribbons.
Well, and then you find a dead body, you're not going to be like, oh shit. Like, you're going to be like, oh, that's sad. Somebody killed themselves again.
Yeah, you went there for it. It's so weird.
Or it'd be a great place to dump bodies, I'd imagine.
I think there are rumors that Yakuza
sure.
do dump some of their bodies of
why wouldn't you?
Probably murders have happened.
Put a suicide note in the vest pocket.
Usually,
Yeah,
usually I think they find one. Some of the notes are usually they're like written on cardboard and they're like nailed to a tree. Is what they usually kind of do. Usually leaving about like what time.
Or those fucking dolls that they nail to the trees.
Yeah, there's like a picture of a doll that is there's some people have interpreted as that being some kind of like knock towards society. These things. It is there is a whole kind of culture behind it. It's kind of
but my thing is, like, I'm saying, like, if we've talked about it before on the show, like the call of the void, right? Where it's, you look over the ledge and you think,
what if?
Jump off, right? Just fucking jump off, see what, right? Head first, truck passing, right? You're driving behind a logging truck and you're like, I'm going to stay right behind this, Final Destination style, right? That like weird, like it's a known thing. There's there's a term for it, right? We've talked about it before on the show. And while I was reading this, like knowing that this is like the second most popular place to commit suicide other than the Golden Gate Bridge, I was thinking, I was like, I wonder if there's certain places on Earth where the call of the void is just stronger than other places. And if these ghosts or the Uri that are in here are like tortured souls that are kind of giving off that torment and those negative feelings, if you walk in there already like, in a bad place, like, and then you start to get those overwhelming feelings on top of that, like, can we chalk it up to weird energies in these places that can do that give off this weird phenomenon that we don't know a lot about?
There's also apparently quite a substantial amount of like measured infrasound going through the forest as well.
Like it's like sound sub hearing, like frequency is so low you can't actually identify it.
But Dead Mountain style.
Most of the people that do end up committing suicide, like there has to be a means, right? Like they have to go there with a method, right? And I think like the two most popular methods there is like pills or hanging, right? So you would need tools to bring with you to do those things, I imagine.
I'm just saying I get that people would bring tools, but I'm saying if before you entered the forest you were harboring doubts about doing it, maybe entering the forest basically gets rid of those doubts
and just get
right. They become like, because like a lot of accounts I've read of people going in there minus the, they're like, it's actually stunning, but it's also super eerie. Like you get a weird feeling being in this forest. It's creepy. It's eerie, and you go in there and you get these feelings on top of that. To me, I was making connections of going, I wonder if some of these places are just more prone to that. And then when people go there,
I wonder if people would get those same feelings if they didn't know that this place was also called the Suicide Forest.
Like if it was just completely out of the zeitgeist kind of thing.
Yeah, like if you had no idea, I wonder if you would get those same like ominous feelings when you went there, because like obviously you would now. There's a stigma attached to it, right?
But that's the other thing too. It's like, we've talked about before, the power of conscious thought. Now we have everyone going like, that's the Suicide Forest. They're putting up signs like, don't do it. Right?
Yeah,
like right as you're going,
think of your mother, think of your father, think of your kids.
Don't do it. We've now like put basically all of our brain power into being like, this place is there's that's what it is, right? That's what it's for, right? And I'm sure if you were standing on the edge of that forest and you watched someone hike in, you would think to yourself, I wonder if they're going to commit suicide in there, right? And you're kind of giving into that negative energy of the forest. It was just a weird kind of thought process I went down this afternoon when I was daydreaming about it.
No, definitely. It's
not suicide, the forest in this case.
Don't visit the forest.
Just clarifying. Yeah.
All right, we got more to talk about, but before we get there, we're going to take a short break, grab a beer, and we're going to be right. There it is. Right back.
Woo! I had a thought on the break. We were talking about the infrasound running through the forest, and perhaps we've talked about that before with the Kamar Daban incident, and obviously Diatsav Pass, about the wind resonating off the mountains, the way it creates some sort of infrasound that's causing these issues. The other one I was thinking of was like, we talked about the Golden Gate Bridge is the number one spot where people commit suicide. And there is like an eerie hum associated with the Golden Gate Bridge that they've tried to identify, and they've tried to, stop it. And people claim it sounds like singing and stuff. But I wonder if these sounds, like, we just don't know of enough about the frequencies they're hitting, or maybe the wind's pulling off these structures or the porous holes in the Suicide Forest, and that is causing some issues, that whether we know it or not, right?
Like drawing people to these areas, you think?
Maybe, or just giving these people negative thoughts, right? When we're there, like, because if you think about the Kamar Daban incident, infrasound was one of the theories that these people all just went crazy and started committing suicide. If you remember that one in the
same in Diatsav Pass was one of the theories that the infrasound
drove them all crazy,
and they
and they took off their clothes and ran in there. But like in the Kamar Daban, like some were headbutting rocks, right, and stuff like that. It makes me wonder that if there's something to this infrasound where wind hitting things certain way will cause this frequencies that just do that. Maybe it's something that we just don't understand yet.
Or maybe you show up to the bridge. Let's say you have these thoughts of self-harm,
and they're just amplified.
But maybe you don't intend to do it. Maybe it's like, maybe a lot of people would look the other way, but this infrasound is like interfering with their reasoning skill or something.
I mean, a big thing too with
or impulse control.
Aokigahara is like, a lot of times you're finding these bodies in advanced stages of decomposition, and you got to think, like, do they do autopsies on these bodies? Probably not. So you have no idea really, unless you find the noose around their neck, right? You have no idea how they died.
Well, right? And there's so many. They say there's so many bodies unaccounted for.
Exactly,
so many
right?
Like missing people.
You have no idea.
It's probably this.
So maybe
we really have no idea.
Yeah. So maybe there are a large amount of bodies that, like, people that are dying in ways that we have no idea how, and that could explain that.
That's strange.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if you wanted to go a little bit of a different direction, there is.
Does this have to do with aliens, Dan? Because I've been
Probably.
waiting for aliens.
Maybe. There is a tale from Japanese folklore known as the Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. Now, if you view this tale through a certain lens, you might find it sitting right inside what would be considered our wheelhouse of aliens or alien theorists or theorizing.
Okay.
Right? So this tale begins in one day in a old bamboo forest, and there is a bamboo cutter, as this is the tale of the bamboo cutter, and he comes across a mysterious shining stalk of bamboo.
Ooh.
When he cuts this stalk of bamboo open, he finds an infant the size of his thumb inside of it. Now, I mean, if you've ever been
pickle baby?
Pickle baby.
Just a pickle baby?
Now, he takes this infant home and they raise it as their own. It is a living being, and they raise it as their own, and it grows into a female. It grows into a girl, and as they're raising this girl as their own, the bamboo cutter and his wife, from that moment, every time that this man cuts open a stalk of bamboo, he finds a small nugget of gold inside.
Good deal.
Weird.
Good deal.
So it's a pretty sweet deal.
Does the girl grow, or is she still
she grows.
tiny?
She grows.
Like
pretty
full size?
fast.
She grows, and it is, I think it's preternaturally fast. Like she
Really
grows
fast.
really fast.
Oh,
And within a short
species.
amount of time, about 3 months, the girl who they've named Kaguya, grows into an infant, from an infant to a woman in 3 months' time. And of ordinary size, ordinary proportions, but also extraordinarily beautiful.
Oh, so the dad's like, how many goats can I get for her? That kind of thing.
Well, not exactly,
Well, it's
but they
rolling
actually
in gold nuggets, man.
Oh, yeah.
they do become rich. But the bamboo cutter is also they try to keep Kaguya away from everybody. They try to keep the secret of her, like they try to keep her away from being noticed by those who might covet her beauty. But despite his efforts, she attracts many suitors, and there's about 5 that make the cut. Now, these 5 are all they're all nobles of certain standing, and they all are dead set on making Kaguya their
Fighting
their
to the
wife.
death for her love.
Well, not fighting to the death, but Kaguya devises 5 impossible tasks for them to complete, and if they complete these,
Sneaky.
then they will make them.
At 3 months old? Wow.
Yeah, she's really advanced.
It's advanced.
Yeah, those are
man.
some crazy cognitive abilities.
Now each noble tries to
My
complete
kid's
each
going on
of
3 years. They can't even shit in the potty yet.
Yeah.
All right, 3 years.
all 5 of the nobles fail in their assigned tasks of what they're getting them. So none of them gets to marry Kaguya. But the Emperor of Japan finds out about Kaguya and decides to visit. And when he meets her, he instantly falls in love with her and asks for her hand in marriage. Now,
As you do.
Kaguya says no. Even the Emperor of Japan, not good.
Friend zone the emperor?
That's not going to end well.
No, Daddy's getting his head cut off.
But she tells the Emperor that I will not marry you. But they do pretty much, yeah, she does essentially, I guess you could say she friends
yo,
with
man,
him
I'm
because
3
they
months
maintain,
old.
they maintain correspondence.
baby.
Yeah, what do you want from me?
They still maintain correspondence. They do write to each other, write back and forth to each other. And, but what the parents notice is that every time Kaguya now sees the full moon, her eyes fill with tears. And her parents become increasingly worried about her, and she starts to exhibit this erratic behavior. And it becomes, it gets to such a point that eventually, they say something to Kaguya, and Kaguya reveals that she is not of this earth.
What would have told you that?
Excuse me?
That
She's got Benjamin Button syndrome here.
Yeah, honestly, it's shame on her parents for even being surprised at this. They found her in a fucking bamboo stalk.
She grew
She
to
was the
full
size of a
size
thumb.
in 3 months.
in 3 months, they're like, "What? You're not from Earth? Oh my God!" I'm like, Andrew would have had her in a pickle jar within a week.
Absolutely. Number one good price, buddy.
She tells her adoptive parents that she is of the moon and that her people live on the moon and that she must return to them. Now, there are different versions of the story, but in some versions, she's sent to Earth, and the reasoning that she's sent to Earth is that she was sent because of some type of punishment, as a punishment for some type of crime that she committed, or that she was sent to Earth because there was some type of celestial war going on.
They're trying
and she was
to preserve It's like Superman.
Yeah.
Except for they didn't blow up the moon.
They didn't blow up the moon. They got away with that one.
Yeah.
Got lucky.
And the gold is explained as part of it is part of her was sent with her in order to pay for her upkeep. Like it was sent to help her. So
we're gonna instill these nuggets of gold in these bamboo shoots for taking care of our alien daughter.
This parents got a pretty good deal, man. They're getting gold nuggets. Their daughter's going to marry the fucking emperor. Like, all right, come on.
Not bad gig.
Yeah.
Could be worse.
Yeah, they're going to travel the countryside, showing off the moon baby.
Now, it gets
show
even
style.
Yeah. Rick Dyer of Japan.
Now, there comes a day where Kaguya says that her people are going to come and retrieve her and take her back to the moon. And as that day approaches, the emperor sends his guards to protect her, to prevent her from going with the moon people. And but when they get there, when the Celestials arrive, the guards are blinded by a brilliant light, and they can't do anything when this happens.
Solar flare.
Ooh.
UFO.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Coming in.
UFO coming in hot. I mean, if you think about it, like it's a blinding light, which it causes missing time, that you're paralyzed and you can't do anything.
This is like, it sounds like abduction cases that we hear all the time.
Now, before she leaves, Kaguya writes a note of apology to her parents and the emperor, both of them, and she gives her parents her robe as a memento. But she also leaves to the emperor a small vial or a small amount of what is the elixir of life, of immortality. And she attaches that to the letter to give to the emperor.
Where was that in a bamboo stalk?
It's part of what she has. Like the secret of immortality is what they said.
She just conjured it up.
Well, she knew how to make it or had
It's a bottle of bathwater. That's what it is. Emperor's a freak.
Now, another interesting part is this is how apparently when they see her leave, as she hands this letter with the piece of the elixir of immortality to the guard, it's said that the moon people, her people that have come to retrieve her, they place on her shoulders a type of what looks to be like a robe made of some type of feathers, and that when she dons this robe, all of her compassion for the people of Earth, all of her sadness at leaving disappears. She becomes completely
neuralized. To neuralize her coat.
And so the emperor orders his men to take, even though when he receives this elixir of immortality, he finds that he's not able to bring himself to take it because he does not want to live forever without Kaguya.
Oh,
So
you'll get over her. Take the
Oh,
elixir.
take that shit
Well,
for
guess
sure.
what? Guess what? If you die, there's no chance of you ever seeing her again.
And so he takes the elixir and he has his guards burn it on top of Mount Fuji, and there, the smoke can see rising. So that is
What an idiot.
Isn't like Mount Fuji's name, doesn't that have to do with like endless life? Isn't that the translation?
It's
for
like
it?
it has a couple of connotations.
I wonder
is
if
like,
that ties into the story.
Oh, maybe.
It does. I believe it does because they say that part of this is what people used to explain that when Mount Fuji was a little bit more active, centuries ago, there'd be a lot of smoke rising from the from the volcano, from the caldera and things like that. So they would use this as part of it. They would offer this as an explanation.
Maybe that's how they get the fucking formula for endless life, is due to all the fucking sacrifices. People are called to Mount Fuji, to the base of Mount Fuji by the infrasound to sacrifice themselves to produce this fucking elixir to keep people alive forever.
So the aliens, what you're saying here, just hypothetically,
That's what I'm saying.
the aliens have put some type of spell on this area in order for people to come and sacrifice their life energy. So the aliens...
Could be technology. Could be technology. It doesn't have to be a spell necessarily.
Well, technology, it's magic.
Isn't the ground like a high amount of iron?
That is
Yes,
what
it does have a...
As well?
Yeah, we didn't actually say that. They do claim that it's because it is an old volcanic region. There is a lot of iron there, and it will...
And it fucks with
all of this
compasses
stuff
too.
Compasses and GPS can be affected by the area itself. So,
I'm not so much sure about GPS, but like the compass part, I find is that's
I'm just going
But
with
either way,
internet
either
lore.
way. Zell, you're on to something. Here, listen, vibe with me. Continue.
The aliens have, for lack of a better word, cast a spell. It could be technology, but it's something.
Either way.
And the reason the aliens have done this is for humans to come here to this area, sacrifice their life energy so these ETs can live forever. And that is the elixir of life.
Absolutely.
That's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Hypothetically. That could be it.
The interesting thing about this bamboo cutter story, what's the other one? I remember us talking about another one where the girl's like in an acorn.
Are you talking about Utsuro
Bune.
Utsuro Bune, where it's she's found on the shore with its strange markings.
That's Japanese as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is interesting that there's a tale. They have a rich culture of. I'm not gonna say they have a rich culture of extraterrestrials, but like if you read between the lines on some of these stories, well, this one she says she's from the moon, extraterrestrial. The other one they didn't know where she was from, but it's an interesting thing that you have a lot of these kind of things that tie into like abduction stories that we've heard about. How many times have we heard about like extraterrestrials have a fascination with gold? Right, that's something that they look for, and now it's showing up in bamboo stalks here. Part of me was wondering that if there was something more underneath, like the lava when Mount Fuji blew in 864 AD or whatever, that maybe there was some sort of ancient structures there that. Or reactors or something that were basically destroyed and then covered, and that the effects are still seeping through the earth through these pores in this forest, right? Because by all accounts, there's not a lot of wildlife in this. There is wildlife in this forest, but not a lot for how big it is. So I have to
talk to like some type of biologist to let me know the diversity of wildlife in there, but it seems like it's just by the stories, like no one really hears. Either you don't hear the birds chirping because the sound is absorbed so quickly, so you have to be like pretty close to the birds. But whatever it is, it seems super eerie. Like you go to this place and it's just.
It would be very, because like even for animals that like birds that chirp at each other, like it would be hard for them to communicate, and it seems like it would not be a good place for a lot of wildlife. There
is wildlife. Like there's bears squirrels, everything like that, from what I remember reading.
Yeah,
some small stuff.
Yeah, it does have. I'm pretty sure it has a pretty good abundance of wildlife. That it is a normal for all
foxes, rabbits, bunnies.
They got bears.
It is a normal forest.
Asian bears aren't real bears.
Yes, they are. No, they got bears.
They have that. It's like the sunburst bear, like the big wide face.
Yeah.
Those things fucking maul people.
Maybe there's some tanukis in there. You don't know.
It's not a bullshit panda bear, man. It's a real bear.
Yeah, it's it is like a normal forest. It is not normal because it is unique in the way that it grows.
Normal in the sense that
and how people go there and kill themselves.
Well,
at an astronomical amount.
Normal in the sense that it has trees and moss. Unnormal in the fact that a high percentage of people.
It's littered with dead bodies.
It's a centralized place of human exiting this planet.
Sacrifice.
And people travel there.
It's a
it's a destination to do that.
Well, that's
some
more of
people
like,
say,
I think it seems like more of a modern thing through the internet and stuff. The stories,
Yes.
podcasts like us doing a story on it. People hear about it.
I find the ice cave thing fascinating. Like I find the fact
that would be
there's,
really
like,
cool.
That's not, and there's more than one of those. Like that's not the one I mentioned. Like there's two of those. There's 2 or 3 of those caves where it's cold enough for ice to form inside those caves year round. Like that's nuts to me.
I'd imagine being on the site of an active volcano with prior eruptions like that there is probably tons of spelunking you can do, like caving, like lava tubes, like probably a really cool place for adventure if you're going.
Yeah. What's frozen in those caves?
King Ghidorah.
Yeah, it sounds like the 3-headed beast.
That's right.
Don't go in those caves.
Kaiju, that's what's down there.
Don't wake them up.
I told you. Or demon samurai warriors, according to some Japanese manga I've read. Like it's one of those ones.
But like this forest also is like, if Mount Fuji was to ever have a serious eruption again, this place is vaporized.
Toast.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild place.
I mean, it's a place that I would go visit. I wouldn't feel too spooked, but I would be like, I would want to visit just the fact that I think the absence of sound, like that characteristic of it, just absorbing sound, the ground being able to do that, and the way the vegetation grows would be super interesting to me. I mean, just being able to sit there and be like,
it's like
that,
like a natural place like that is like it's not the same thing. There's like something called I think it's called like a anoic chamber, a place with 0 sound reflection. And so these are like purpose-built rooms, and most people can't handle more than a few minutes inside,
right?
Because you just feel the sound, you can't hear anything,
right? And you hear all of the sounds that your body makes,
the whooshing of your blood, like the creaking of your like everything.
Your S1 and S2 sounds.
You just can't. So yeah, so I'd imagine being in a place like is it similar to when there's a heavy, deep, fresh snow outside? Acts as a huge sound absorber.
I love that. For me, I personally love that. Like that.
It's everything sounds so dead.
Is amazing.
Yeah.
I probably would sit in Aokigahara Forest and I'd be like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like this is great.
And then you know what? You'd sit there, Dan. You'd sit there and then you go, I want to stay here forever.
Because you've been trapped by the alien spell. They're trying to suck your life force.
Right. And then I marry a moon lady.
And that's how it begins.
Then I marry a moon lady and I'm cool. Like,
listen, but she's turning on the Emperor, bud. What do you think that is? How many gold nuggets do you have?
What's the Emperor got on me?
Probably about fucking 3 inches. Yeah.
No, we're talking about the Emperor of Japan here. He's probably shorter than Dan.
Yeah, come on.
Let's be real.
All right.
Emperor of Japan is probably 5'4".
Dan's getting friend-zoned for sure.
Jeez. But is the Emperor... okay.
Dan's a really nice guy.
Maester outranks Emperor. Everybody knows that.
I don't know.
All right.
Fair. We'll give Dan this one. Dan
ludicrous.
will bed the moon baby.
Yeah.
And be the emperor of the world.
You heard it here first. Dan loves 3-month-year-olds.
Emperor of the moon.
Emperor of the moon. That's what Dan's going for here.
Emperor of the moon.
And pedo, but that's
Maester of the moon.
Yeah.
Moon Maester. There we go.
It's got a good ring to
Moon
it.
Maester.
Moon Maester.
Love it.
Anyways.
Yeah. But that was the Ron monthly pick. If if you want a different topic or you thought that one wasn't super cool,
it's your fault.
It's your fault. It's your fucking fault.
Yeah, you fucking blew it.
You picked it.
Fault.
Well, also I was going to say, if people want to be able to get in on the fun and get to see what the topics are and get to pick, you get on our Patreon.
Oh yeah, do that too, and then you get your voice heard, and you can change the course, correct the course of the show if you want to.
I usually try to keep the topics at least as diverse as possible. It's usually like a paranormal, alien, and cryptid. Usually I try to keep one on there, and
Suicide Forest is once in a while.
Suicide.
Once in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, as Andrew said at the start of the show, it's never too late to talk to someone. So
reach out.
Don't
suffer in silence.
Reach out. And if you're not supporting the show and you want early access, ad-free, bonus stuff.
Theory of the week.
I'm an idiot.
Theory of the week.
Theory of the week first.
Got handsome Zell. He's missing cues, man.
Handsome Zell. You know why? Because 5 years ago we didn't do this. That's why he just went back. He regressed.
I just regressed 5 years.
Hey, listen, we did a Cosmic Channels from 2014 last night, I think.
We did.
So
something's happening here.
We're going back, boys.
We're stuck in a time loop.
Theory of the week goes to Anna B. Anna B sent us a very heartfelt email. It was very nice to read. asking if, she wasn't sure if we see this. We see all emails. When you email us, message us, one of the four of us reads it.
Hear all.
Yeah, and one of us will see it.
If you don't get a response, it's because Andrew got to it first.
Yeah.
That's why.
I didn't even see the email.
Yes. See what I mean? But thanks, Anna, for the kind words. If easy way to get Theory of the Week, send us some kind words, nice heartfelt email, that heartwarming, or a 5-star review on
Are you
any
gonna read
podcast.
the email?
No, I'm not going to read the email.
Well, I want to hear it.
I'll show it to you after. It's too heartfelt. Too heartfelt.
Okay. Well, thanks, Anna. It's
too personal
to hear about it.
Made us smile.
Thanks. Made us smile. Thanks for supporting the show, Anna. You were the Theorite of the Week.
Hell yeah.
All right, Zell. That's your cue.
Now I push the button. Now I read the beauties who support the show. We'll figure it out. As I briefly said, early access, ad-free. Patreon is the easiest way, the most direct way to support the show. We greatly appreciate every single one. This week we have Grimnar. It's a good character name.
Grimnar.
Xander Coates. Polly.
Hey, Xander Coates is a funny one because we chirped him because I guess his dad had donated more than him. And we made fun of him, so then he matched his dad's donation.
That boy, Xander.
Really?
Yeah. Show him up.
Yeah.
Show the old man up.
Hey, just say, other Coates, he's now tied. You're tied now. Just saying.
Got to keep one-upping each other. We have Polly Cesares, Caitlin Johnson, Ashton Hilton went up, Corey Doran. What? This is weird. Caitlin Johnson subscribed both on Patreon and on Supercast. You should cancel one of those.
Wanted to make sure.
Anyways, thank you very much for supporting the show.
And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes on the skies.
See you in after hours.